Yeah, DXB today, focusing on all things men's mental health. It's Mental Health Awareness Month at the moment throughout the entirety of May. Big focus for us tonight on men's mental health. And time now, after all the boys have had their say, to get a voice of reason on the matter, because joining us now is a psychologist at the LightHouse Arabia. With a community service agenda, they are committed to transforming mental health here in the region. It's a warm welcome to Kritzas. Christine, good to have you with us.
Good to be here, Tom.
Really appreciate it. And, you know, one thing that you will have heard us discussing throughout is, you know, this proclivity for men to delay or to be reluctant to seek help. Why?
That's a really good question. And I think that the culture of toxic masculinity often perpetuates the cycle of men delaying seeking help. And when we think about toxic masculinity, we understand that it's this pressure to suppress one's emotions, to reject vulnerabilities, to prove their worth through control and dominance that can often be at the expense of their relationships with others, as well as a cost to their own well-being. And take it a step further and you'll see that the cultural conditioning perpetuates that too, where boys are taught from a very young age and being fed these tribal messages that boys don't cry, man up, stop acting like a girl, and how that in itself makes boys feel like it's not okay for me to feel my feelings and that I need to hide what it is that I am going through to show up in the world, to be a provider, you know, to be a good leader means that I show up strong. But what they need to also understand is that vulnerability is strength. Vulnerability is courage. And so we often find that that would be one of the reasons that men struggle to seek out support. And another reason I often hear is that I don't have time. That, you know, it's a waste of time. That we also see the examples of role models around us that, you know, in the past weren't so much around, where nowadays we see people like Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal really modeling that vulnerability, really showing that it's okay to cry, and unapologetically so, and still being brilliant athletes at the same time.
I've got a question for you. So a lot of my friends, my male friends, struggle with this kind of concept of the feminization of therapy. And the question I want to ask here is, have you found that there's something inherently different about the way you've got to approach a man's mental well-being as a therapist versus approaching a woman's mental well-being? And are there kind of different modalities that you would use with either gender?
I think that what often attracts men to therapy is this optimization of productivity and optimization of performance. So oftentimes that's what will get them through the door, is that they want to become better at managing their time and managing their energy, that they want to be better leaders, and so they want better work-life balance. That often is what allows them to actually step through the door. And with that, and with them building that rapport and that trust in the room, one can see how their guard starts to drop and how it becomes okay for them to actually open up and start speaking about emotional wounds and understanding that it's a safe space to do so.
I find that men and women often wait until we're at a breaking point to actually start therapy. What would you say are some signs, or should everyone just be doing therapy every once in a while just to check in?
So I think that I would hope that we could be more proactive when it comes to therapy and not as reactive as what we see, where people only do step through the door when they're experiencing a mental health crisis. So to get people to understand that it's okay to start early, to understand that, you know, mad is sad's bodyguard. And so what we often see is that when men are showing signs of anger and irritability, that is often a sign that they may need some support too. When men are engaging in numbing behaviors, where they're throwing themselves into their work, becoming workaholics, engaging in that digital escapism, that is a sign that they may need support. Or when they are isolating themselves from their friends and their families, that those can be some subtle warning signs that they need to be speaking with someone, because it could actually be quite a lonely journey for men, because what we see, and you guys mentioned it earlier, that it's still taboo often to speak about their feelings, and so we need to really look out for the warning signs. We need to really move the needle on mental health in the workplace and getting more leaders trained up in understanding when their team members may be struggling, to start that conversation.
So, don't get me started on mental health in the workplace. It's like, oh, we're struggling, here's a yoga class. It doesn't work like that. Anyway, Christine, you touched earlier about emotional suppression in men. What are the long-term effects and impact of that? Because I actually have never heard that terminology before, so I'm interested to know more.
Yeah. So emotional suppression is the bottling up of feelings. And when we think of emotional suppression, we understand that it can lead to depression. And when we look at the origin of the word depression, it actually comes from a Latin root, which is to push something down. And when you push down sadness and grief and fear, and you push those feelings to the side, what starts to happen is you start feeling drained, you start feeling disconnected from yourself, you feel disconnected from your values, you don't know anymore what it is that you want to do in your life, what the meaning and purpose of life is. So with suppression, we see depression, we see anxiety-related issues, we see isolation and loneliness, and we often also see suicide. And then also, with that, we find that numbing behaviors can fuel that emotional suppression, where men are throwing themselves into work, and that endless scrolling, and that difficulty with sitting with one's feelings.
So an antidote to that could be building a support mechanism. I guess my question is, what role does the family and what role do friends play in enabling a man through his mental well-being journey?
That's such a good question, Faris, and I think that we need to move away from trying to fix things all the time and allowing men to just speak without trying to jump in and fix the problem. First, validate the feeling and then move into problem solving with that person. And the greatest act of generosity in 2025 is giving someone of your time and carving out even 15 minutes to spend with someone. And remember the magic 2-minute rule, which is allowing someone to speak for 2 minutes without jumping in, without completing the sentence for them. Because what that does is, when I finish your sentence for you, it can make you feel like, you're on a time limit, you rushed, you don't have time right now. And another thing I will say is, put your phones away when you're having those one-on-one conversations with a loved one, and have regular, sincere check-ins. And, just carving out that time can really make that person feel like, okay, I don't need to rush through this. I can actually just share with you where I'm at. And another thing I will say is that when you are vulnerable, you give people permission to be vulnerable too. And so when you model expressing your feelings and being able to say that I've struggled myself, it immediately lowers their guard. It builds trust in a relationship.
It's contagious.
It's contagious, and vulnerability actually is the birthplace of connection.
That's beautiful advice. Honestly, it gave me goosebumps at one point. That was wonderful. Thank you, Christine, for your invaluable advice, honestly. And we hope to have you back on the show. I'm going to ask you to sit there for a minute because Katie's got something important to do, don't you, Katie?
I do, and I like to scare our guest co-host when this happens because this is a little quiz, 60 seconds, and we're going to ask you to answer as many questions as possible, but they're about you, so you'll know the answers.
Rapid fire.
Rapid fire, 60 seconds on the clock, and we will start in 3, 2, 1. What is one myth you would like to bust about mental health, especially with men?
That you need a therapist to get better.
Okay. Do you have a motto in life and in work?
Not one that I've adopted, unfortunately, but
Okay.
now I want to.
Don't worry. If you could have an AI assistant, what tasks would you ask it to handle?
Writing, emails, most likely, but also just finishing my to-do list for me.
That always helps. If you could have dinner with someone, either with us or not, who would that be?
I'd say Trump. I think the guy's amenable, and I've got a couple of things to pitch to him that could help steer the world in a better direction.
I love that. What is the best part about your job and your role?
It's that I get to experience so many different things in so many different workplaces and meet so many different people from different backgrounds.
Do you have a book, a movie, or series that you'd recommend at the moment?
I recently read The Selfish Gene, and I really recommend. That was a life-changing book for me.
Okay, and time is up, but last question. Why Dubai?
Been here 12 years. There's no place like it. It embraced me. It embraced every component of me. It's a very welcoming city to anyone who wants to move here and who wants to build their future here. I love it.
Paris, can't thank you enough. All the best with the app, all the best with the platform, all the best moving forward as well. Thank you so much indeed for guest
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much indeed for that. And Christine, bless you. All the best to you and of course the great team that you've got down there at LightHouse
Thank you,
Arabia.
Tom.
Always doing so much great work. Listen, these guys are going to make their way off to the green room and have a bit of a chat. We're going to stick around. Do you know what? The irony has just struck me. We've been talking mental health all episode. We're playing out with the blues next. Enjoy.